What are unlockable weapons in TF2 for? I mean, I know what they're for fun. But there seems to be an obvious design philosophy they all share. Some of them, like the YER, exist to fill a glaring hole in a class's abilities. Some, like the black box, don't so much patch up a weakness as they do provide the class with an additional option for self-sustain. If we look at all of the unlockable weapons in TF2, they mostly follow along these lines. Is the demo man weak in close quarters? Trade the explosives for a sword and shield. Done. Does the heavy weapons guy need a way to heal himself? Give him a pack lunch. Easy. None of the unlockable weapons in TF2 are out and out better than the default option, except the sandwich. That should just be the heavy's default secondary at this point. But they do give you options by opening up a new playstyle or allowing the existing playstyle to be more effective. So with all this in mind, what the hell is with the Phlogistinator? This thing keeps me up at night. It gives me nightmares. It's simultaneously over and underpowered, like radioactive toilet paper. Sure, it rips easily, but it'll also give you cancer. Do not wipe with radioactive tissue, guys. Trust me. This futuristic flamethrower is devastatingly powerful against unprepared groups, but it also kind of sucks. Alright, I don't love doing this, but there's at least one person in the audience who doesn't play TF2, so let me quickly go over the stats. It's a flamethrower. It does the same damage and has the same range as the regular flamethrower. As far as that goes, these two are identical. That's where the similarities end, though. Dealing any fire damage while the Phlog is equipped will fill up this meter, and when it's full, you can taunt with it to gain guaranteed crits for 10 seconds, roughly. More on that later. Critical hits, or in other words, triple damage, are really strong. That's a violent way to wake up in the morning. Yeesh. Who needs coffee when you can send 6 or 7 poor souls express mailed to heaven in an even smaller package? The bodies just disintegrate. That sure makes the crime scene easier to clean up, and it feels like a crime scene. The Phlog is so good at killing multiple people in a row. This thing is a kill streak machine. For all of this free dopamine, what is the downside? How on earth do you balance the flames of hell? No random crits, of course, and no air blast. Pyro's foundational ability is removed from the Phlog. That means no deflecting rockets, no crowd control, no saving burning teammates, and your whole team will think you're an idiot for using this weapon. The last thing a team-oriented player will want to do is equip a weapon that removes Pyro's greatest teamwork option. And it leaves me puzzled. I don't get this weapon, and I want to, because it's fun to use and I want to break the brain-dead stereotype. As a person who has a lot of fun focusing on the teamwork aspect of TF2, I want to find out where the Phlog fits into the big puzzle that is this game. So I'm going to temporarily become a Phlogistinator main. I'm going to use it every match, force myself to get as much experience as I can, and record everything. When the video's over, hopefully both you and I will understand not just how to use the Phlogistinator, but also what gameplay niche it can fill. Well, I think I did it. It's the best of Phlogs, it's the worst of Phlogs. I've probably forgotten how to air blast, and I'm sure I've fried my dopamine receptors thanks to the absolute overkill of positive feedback this weapon creates when things are going your way. I've played with it a ton, and I have a theory on how this weapon should be used that goes beyond front toward enemy style gameplay. One of my biggest surprises was learning how much skill it actually takes to use the Phlogistinator. I don't mean mechanical skill per se, I mean game sense. Keeping track of the objective, how many people are alive, when pushes are happening, all while keeping that meter topped off and having restraint when it comes to using it, it's not as absolute simple as it might sound. It's kind of like playing engineer. It's not hard to upgrade a sentry, you just have to hit the gun with your wrench. But knowing where to put the sentry, that takes a ton of skill that can't just be learned overnight. A Phlog pyro is very vulnerable to a lot of things that a normal pyro could deal with. Rocket spam, demo knights, medic combos. Sentry guns already shut down a stock pyro. With the Phlog it's even worse. To avoid dying all the time, you have to play much more carefully and never overextend. If you don't have full health, don't go in. And even when you have the meter charged, you can't just pop it in front of a bunch of people, they'll kill you. Uh-oh. Yes, the Phlog can easily melt through people who are caught off guard, but that's true of all flamethrowers. If you encounter a soldier who respects the damage you can do, keeps his distance, and shoots the ground underneath you, you just die. It ain't rocket science, you just can't damage him fast enough. Burst damage, big groups, and sentry guns are all a huge liability for a pyro using the Phlog, and you don't even have air blast to make space, so it's bad, right? No, it just takes game sense. I'm not sure if there's an existing term for this, but the Phlogistinator is a push denier. Don't just pop the crits as soon as they're charged. Hold on to them as long as possible. Then, when you can tell a big enemy group is about to rush towards the objective, use the crits and take down as many of them as you can. In every game where I was doing well, the Phlog was shutting down pushes before they happened and slowing down any attempt at getting momentum. The crit boost practically guarantees 3 or 4 kills if you have good positioning. Any team that is constantly outnumbered by 3 or 4 people is almost certainly going to lose. But don't make the mistake of treating the Phlog as a kamikaze weapon. The longer you live, the more pushes you can deny. I cannot overstate just how much damage the Phlog can put out. It gives crit sticky bombs a run for their money with how quickly it can clean up entire teams. Crit stickies are still stronger for the range alone, but the fact that it comes close says something on its own. It is so gratifying to sense an incoming pub push and shut it right down with a well-timed crit boost, knowing for a fact that the game was won because of you.
Oh, Melton! Yes!
So what should you use with the Phlog? Well, there's a few options. Jetpack for high mobility and low range, Detonator for decent mobility and long range, Man Melter to be a team player, Scorch Shot if you don't even feel like trying, and finally, the Panic Attack. I know, it's a little weird, but using the Panic Attack with the Phlog is actually pretty good. It provides decent burst damage for when your crits are offline, can save your life if a healthier class gets in your face, and honestly, the surprise factor alone will catch people off guard because, wait, he's not using Scorch Shot? What? I also enjoy the reserve shooter in case you want a faster swap speed without losing out on range. But there is an obvious best option, and it's the Scorch Shot. Spamming flares with it makes it feel like the crit meter is building itself. It's so easy and fast. The Detonator is a sleeper pick, especially if you're really good at Phlog canceling. That's done by activating the crit boost right as you land on somebody's head so that when they move out from under you, the taunt cancels, leaving you with a few seconds of uber charge as well as the crits. I'm gonna be honest, no matter how much skill it might take to pull off, and it does take a bit, the fact that a pyro can sometimes have 3 seconds of uber and 10 seconds of crits together is a little broken. Think about how nuts it is that the pyro can have triple damage and self-uber charge on demand, and people still don't like using the Phlog because losing air blast is that important. Sure, it's not consistent, but it's invincibility without a medic. It being there at all probably makes the Phlog way too strong, but it's so weak the rest of the time that it kind of balances out. The thing is, the Phlog is weak and strong. You can't buff it without making it even more obnoxious to fight against, and you can't really nerf it without killing the weapon entirely. I don't know, I'm not going to pretend to be a game designer, I just think this item is really fun and has some big brain options that people overlook since the obvious stereotype of brain-dead WM1 Pyro is so much more common. It's a glass cannon. Extreme offense, no defense, no support. Fun to use, incredibly powerful if used as a push denier, and so inconsistent and exploitable that at times you may as well be fighting with a soggy roll of radioactive toilet paper. I can only wholeheartedly recommend it if you're like me and prefer big, exciting moments every once in a while over consistent, low-key performance that gets the job done without being flashy. My skill level is generally pretty inconsistent, so I enjoy leaning into that and using weapons that are largely not good, but have the potential to pop off in certain specific situations. It's a personality defect, I admit, but it makes the game fun for me. Oh, and if you do decide to use the Phlog, just be ready for some interesting comments in the game chat, because some people really do not like this weapon. That's all. Like, subscribe, and get out. Video's over.